to censorship and political candidates, etc. And I actually think something worse will happen this time around. So in 2020 and 2021, we saw a litany of bannings happen.
Yep.
Due to COVID, etc.
J6, all that.
Yeah, all different types of reasons. They found a reason to ban a lot of people. I think the new type of censorship is going to be far more intelligent, and I'm already seeing a lot of signs of it.
Yep.
It's not banning someone is like super obvious. You can see it, you can feel it, you know it's there, and you can fight against that. You know, people will scream like, and they'll that word will spread. But when you're shadow banned in an intelligent way, where let's say AI gets involved, and you know your content's coming and showing up to your loyal users, but not showing up to the users outside of that loyal base, now that's getting intelligent, and you don't know you're banned. You don't know you're shadow banned. I think that's the next iteration of censorship. I think it's already starting to happen on platforms.
Yeah.
Just my 2 cents. I think it's going to be an incredibly intelligent censorship operation in the next few years. I think the banning, they learned a lesson, and because, you know, in a lot of ways, it opened up opportunities for other companies.
Alternative platforms.
Like now you're seeing a whole economy emerge, like, and now they're like changing their rules. YouTube's like, okay, we can talk about elections again.
Yeah.
So like they're clearly adapting, and they're I do think a lot of these platforms are going to be participating in some really intelligent style censorship that we can't see or very easily detect, and it's going to be all done through AI and technology.
Interesting.
I would argue it's happening right now. Wink, wink. Chris.
I think it is happening right now. I'm seeing some evidence of that happening right now. The censorship that I'm starting to see or hear about is very deceptive. I think like the year of 2024, I think deception is going to accelerate to a level that the people that we might think are on our side are not really on our side. I think deception is at a whole new level in the next couple of years, and that kind of dovetails into like censorship. And I can see the fakeness. I can sense it. I can smell it. It's there, but it's just very hard for people to see.
I think the idea of the Trojan horse is very relevant in today's current climate. But Chris, the word free speech is thrown around a lot, from different platforms, different people. What's your definition of free speech?
It's a good question. So I particularly don't use the word free speech. I'm from Canada. I use the word freedom of expression, which is it's in the UN Declaration of Human Rights, Article 19. It's a human right that you have the ability to speak freely. Free speech, freedom of expression. To me, it's the same thing. But online, there are like gates that you have to abide by. Anyone that's claiming they're free speech absolutist online is not being authentic. You cannot be. To the definition of what we understand a free speech absolutist is. Like, it bothers me when I hear people say like, I'm a free speech absolutist, and then the next thing you see is there's a compliance with the government or whatever, and it's just nonsense. It's not real.
Right.
So like, it's hard to say that Rumble is like a free speech absolutist platform. It's not, because there's guardrails that force us not to be, and that comes into the whole technology ecosystem. Like, Rumble is the tip of spear, in my opinion, in terms of mass size. That's pushing and tilting the system back into place to the way we understood the internet to be. We're the tip of the spear. I really believe that. And we do things that other platforms don't, even when they, claim that they're free speech. And I'm not sitting here and claiming Rumble is a free speech absolutist platform. It can't be, because of the app stores. The app stores are guardrails.
Yeah.
If we want to reach the mass market, you have to abide by the app stores.
Yeah.
Period. So that's like one major guardrail. The other guardrail for other companies which we do not have, and it's very unique to us in this system, is the cloud. Parler. We all know Parler. They got shut down after January 6th, based on the premise that, you know, a lot of things were organized from Parler. But the facts of the matter is Facebook and other platforms participated far more than Parler,
Yep.
but they didn't get deplatformed like Parler did. So they got like treated very unfairly in that situation. And the guardrail there was obviously the app stores were one problem, but the more important problem for them, the one that turned the lights out, the one that put them basically out of business from our perspective, is Amazon, AWS. They shut off the lights. They didn't know where to put the website. They couldn't find a host. They couldn't find a cloud provider.
Yeah.
This was like a major wake-up call for us at the time, because at the time, Rumble was running on bare metal. It wasn't using any of the incumbent cloud platforms, but it was running on bare metal. And bare metal is great because you're leasing servers, and you're kind of building on top of it, but it's not good enough. And I'll tell you guys a story that, you know, no one knows, and I'll tell it today.
All right.
F exclusive.
Yeah, a little exclusive here for the Fresh and Fit pod. But like, we were on bare metal, and that was good at the time. It was enough to sustain us through a period where, you know, no incumbent cloud platform can knock us out. You know, we're distributed with multiple companies, multiple server companies, and we were able to survive on that basis at that point in time. But it became really apparent for us that that wasn't good enough, and that we needed to invest, we needed to get investment, and we needed to invest heavily in building our own cloud. And not only did I see it as existential for Rumble, I know it's existential. I'll give you this example that I've never told. Not only is it existential for Rumble to be on our own cloud, but I also felt there was a need for other companies like Parler or whatever it may be, whether it's a religious university that Amazon AWS doesn't agree with on a religious perspective, like, or whether it's a business that doesn't have the same values as Amazon AWS. So like, we decided to launch build a cloud that's not just for Rumble, the existential threat to Rumble, but for the greater public. And we launched it last week, which is a huge milestone. Like, Rumble now doesn't have the guardrail of someone else telling us on an acceptable use policy at the host level. No one's turning the lights off anymore on Rumble. That's not happening. And now every business out there can have trust in a provider that won't turn the lights off on them based on some ideological or some opinion that someone might have, or some thought, or some, you know, any type of expression they might have. It's not gonna. We're going to be operating very differently than Amazon AWS, Google Cloud, GCP, and Microsoft Azure. So that did happen. But let me step back. I think, I'm just trying to remember the date. It might have been, I think it was July 4th weekend where we had...
This year?
It was, I think, 23.
Okay.
It could have been 22, actually. It might have been 22 or 23. It's either 23 or 22.
Yeah.
Where, when was the Russia war? When did that start?
Oh, I think 21 it started.
So it's probably 22 then.
Yeah.
But I can't remember the dates. The time flies and dates get all mixed up in my mind.
Yeah. Or 22. I think it started February 2022.
Where
Yeah.
we actually, behind the scenes, and we already had a lot of infrastructure by this period kind of built out, where Rumble was sitting on its, had the available infrastructure in place, our own servers, the ones that we actually own and bought with our money. And we were setting up like a CDN, we were setting up like the cloud, we're setting it all up. And we get like a notice from, at the time, it was IBM saying they're shutting us down.
Wow.
That happened on,
Did they even say why?
a July 4th weekend.
Did they even say why, or?
It was so brutal. They couldn't cite a policy. They didn't have a policy that we violated. We didn't violate anything. they were citing EU stuff, not American stuff. And, you know, at that point in time, it was it was all hands on deck that weekend, and it was like a miracle. Like all our engineers came on deck. We moved everything as much as we possibly could over to Rumble, the Rumble infrastructure, and we survived without even the lights going off for a second because we just invested in the right place at the right time. And you know, it was way faster than I thought it was going to have to happen, but we did it, and it was like I remember I tweeted something on that weekend on July 4th, like this was the, you know, July 4th. It happened. We were literally, you know, we were defending and protecting freedom of expression more than anyone at that very moment, and our whole team was working overnight that whole weekend on July 4th weekend. And it's like a story that I hold very, very dearly to myself. And it's one that, you know, all the engineers that were behind that and getting that up, they're heroes. They're like heroes for doing that. And that happened behind the scenes. And now we're at a place where, you know, it's many years past that now. Now we have our own cloud. We're, you know, uncancelable. We were uncancelable at that moment too.
Yeah.
Which was great. But like it was, you know, we didn't want to go 100% on our hardware at that point in time. It was like we were trying to do it nicely. And
I think that's something that people underestimate, Chris, about you, is that like all the work that goes behind the scenes. I mean, daily there's articles criticizing you. Daily there's people saying terrible things about you. Daily they're trying to shut you down. Daily they're trying to tarnish your character, the business's character, etc. Like, you know, we always say, you know, freedom of speech isn't free. Like that's literally like the quintessential example. Like people are constantly trying to come at you guys. How do you deal with that, man?
You know what? It's
because that's just one story. But I wish you guys knew some of the other stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Obviously, we're not going to talk about here.
People don't understand how much pressure Rumble gets on a daily basis.
You know what though? Like
it's crazy.
I asked that question. Why did Mark Zuckerberg fold on all the things that he's folded on? I ask this question all the time, and you know, the answer to me is like pretty simple. It's pretty easy to be strong. I just think there's a lot of weak people right now.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm defending a human right.
Yeah.
Period. That should be pretty easy. For me, it's pretty easy. Why it's hard for everybody else, you know, that's a question we need to ask them. I'm happy defending that human right. It makes me proud. But, you know, the sad part is how many weak people there are out there not doing that and folding to like any type of criticism that they have. It just requires a little bit of strength, you know, and that's what this company, Rumble's built on. It's built on strength. It's built on pushing back. It's built on telling governments to, you know, pound sand.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at the Russell Brand situation. They sent you that letter, right? I remember you posted on X how when Russell Brand got canceled or demonetized, they asked you, hey, is Russell Brand monetized on Rumble? And they were trying to get him demonetized on Rumble as well. And you basically told them to go pound sand, which is huge because other platforms always bend the knee to governments. What's that like taking on governments? Because the UK isn't the only government that's come after you guys. I mean, obviously we've talked about France, Brazil, etc. What's that like, man?
So the UK situation was absurd. It was like
sent you that letter, I remember.
Yeah, you know, an MP, I believe, I don't remember exactly, sends us a letter to say, hey, like demonetize Russell Brand, do this, blah blah blah.
Crazy.
And I'm like, what law? What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Like just because you say so?
Yeah.
Like how does that work? And you know what the scary part is though? All the other platforms did it.
Yep.
And I'm like, why?
It's a good question. Like, scary times.
It's like, you saw the letter. We put it out there publicly.
He never even got arrested, dude. It was merely one accusation. Like nothing came out.
These are accusations from people we don't even know.
Yeah.
They didn't even name the names. They're anonymous accusations, I think they are. From like 20 years ago. And like, that's not my business. Yeah. Like our business is video. It's streaming. It's like it's an online video platform. It's VOD. It's That's our business. That's my focus. If I were going to sit here and judge every single character on what they do in their personal lives, if YouTube was going to do that, well, they got to start digging a lot more, because there's a lot of people on their platform they're going to have issues with if they start digging, because like anonymous accusations, that's a pretty broad reason to try to deplatform someone from a video platform.
Yeah.
Like that's it's just ridiculous. Like it's upsetting to see how there's no backbone at any other platform out there when it comes to this type of stuff. Like, focus on your business. Your business is, if your business is video, it's video. If your business is to like pursue crimes that other people did, then that's your business. Like, but like, don't tell me that that's what we have to do now.
Yeah.
Like, we're just a video platform, and we have our terms of service, and if you abide by them, great. That's all we're focused on. But if he doesn't, you know, if someone does something that's illegal in society and does something wrong, that's society's judicial process to take care of that. That's not Rumble's process. That's not Rumble's obligation.
Yeah.
We're just a video platform. Leave us alone. We just want to operate a great video platform.
Now, Chris, there are creators that do cross the line sometimes, a little bit too far, you would say, on some platforms. How does Rumble handle that? For example, they cross the line where it's like maybe
Inciting violence or something.
violence, or maybe even like corn, you know?
Yeah.
How does...
So, you know, obviously we have a terms of service. We do not allow a lot of types of like we do not allow inciting and violence. We do not allow pornography, etc. So, you know, that you have to abide by. You have to abide by our terms of service. And like I said, there is no platform that I know of that's of mass scale that sits on their own cloud that has to adhere to their cloud. But there are the guardrails of the app stores, and everyone needs to be conscious of that and aware of that. And until someone comes up with another phone to compete against that market, that's the guardrail we're going to have to be a part of. Like, if you want to have any sort of mass market appeal, you have to be in the app stores, plain and simple. So when it comes to that type of stuff, it's, you know, there's obviously very strict policies in place. And also, like, you know, one of the things we like to do differently, and we're trying to figure this out, like one of the things that happens on YouTube that gets taken advantage of are DMCAs, for example, copyright. That's part of the law. You got to take it down. You know, we got to strike accounts if they violate copyrights. You got to ban accounts if they do it too often. But like, one of the things we like to do is, like, I don't like the idea of like a permanent ban unless it's like some fraudulent type of behavior, like spamming and stuff like that. But when it comes to like copyrights, you want to kind of reach out to the creator, give them the option rather than strike them, but give them the option, give them a window to take it down. It might have to be fast because, you know, there's liability there, but like, kind of work with the creator in a different way than the other platforms have to kind of like help them, you know, get into policy and not violate and not ruin their whole businesses and livelihoods because they made a mistake they were not aware of. Innocent mistakes happen all the time. And then there's a lot of like mobbing happening where someone will just like doesn't
send
like
bots.
somebody and send like a whole crowd to take that out. And we see that all the time. And like, we're like, guys, this is Rumble. We're not going to fall for that shit. Like, but it still happens. It's like, it's unbelievable, like how they assemble activists to try to take people out. And that, you know, that works really well on these other platforms. It doesn't work on Rumble though.
That's good though.
Yeah.
Because you're giving the creator a chance to say, you know what, this is my platform, but you know what, regarding your actual content, fix it up real quick. We'll make sure that you're good to go on the platform still. Rather than saying, oh, you're out of here completely, you're gone, you're banned. That's good.
Besides Russell Brand,